Hello everyone, welcome back to the Book Vandal Shop. So I would like to share with you a little mini ephemera folder or ephemera folio, I guess we could call it, made using one piece of cardstock, one cut, and zero waste from our cardstock. So first I'll just show you what the finished product looks like, with little bits of ephemera tucked in. A little bit of room for journaling, and then folds up into a neat little folio with a button and tie closure and a pocket on the back. So let's get crafting. So what we're going to need is one piece of cardstock. And my piece of cardstock that I'm using is just a plain kraft colored cardstock. And this one happens to be 110 pound cardstock. I'm not sure what that translates into GSM, but mine is 110 pound. It is a very thick, very sturdy piece of cardstock, so it works great for doing projects like this. But if you want something with a little bit more flex, then I would go with maybe an 80 pound cardstock. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is cut our cardstock in half. So I'm using an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. You're going to have to adjust the measurements if you are using a different sized cardstock than I am. So I'm going to cut my cardstock in half the long way. So I'm going to create two strips essentially. Okay? Okay, so essentially what I have are two strips that are 4 1/4 by 11 inches long. So that's my 8.5 cut in half. Keep in mind, sometimes paper is not always exactly 8.5 by 11. Sometimes it can be off just a little bit. So you want to make sure that they're both the same size. I did run mine through the trimmer and just a teeny tiny smidge I trimmed down. But other than that, we're going to have zero waste from our cardstock. And one cut is all it takes to make the base for our folio. The only other cutting you're going to have to do is covering it with the paper. So just the one cut to make the base, okay? Now, I'm using my scoreboard to make things handy. If you don't have a scoreboard, that's fine. Use a ruler, make your measurements, and then you can use the edge of your ruler to make score lines. To help you fold. So I'm going to take one of my strips, it doesn't matter which one at this point, one of them, and I'm going to make a score at 2.5 inches. Two and 1/2. And then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm making a score at 4 inches. Okay, so what we've created there is our top flap and our bottom flap. Okay, let's set that off to the side. And if you need to make things easier for yourself, you can write up here, top and bottom. You're going to cover it with paper anyway, I assume. Okay, let's bring in our next little strip of paper. For this one, we're going to score at approximately 3 3/8. And the reason I'm choosing 3 3/8 is because essentially, if I center this on my other piece, what's left here and what's left here is just about 3 3/8 inches if I split it up evenly. Okay, it's pretty close. Again, if you are using a different size sheet of paper, you're going to need to adjust your measurements though. One, two, three. 3 3/8. And 4. Okay, so when I bring that back over, it should all line up. Okay, So if you are using a different size sheet of paper than I am, you'll want to just basically line up your make a cross essentially and line it up, and then make sure that this flap and this flap are the same size, whatever that size that may be. But if you are doing a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, these lines here should be pretty close to 3 3/8. Okay. All right. And then that's it for the scoreboard. That's it for the cutting. I mean, this is almost it for the base. So I want to make a thumb notch up here at the top. Yeah. There we go. And then that's pretty much it for the base, other than rounding the corners, if you want to round corners. Okay. So that gives you a general idea. Now you can take that idea and run with it at this point. But if you'd like, stick around with me and we will go ahead and finish this project together. Now I'm going to be using my Autumn Memories digital kit that's in my shop. It's my newest digital kit. And that's what I'm going to be using for this project, but please feel free to use whatever papers you would like. Rounded all those, and then the next thing I want to do is, and you don't have to do this part either, but I would like to go and ink up all the edges of my cardstock, and then I'll come right back. So I've inked the edges on everything, but before I glue this together, I would like to put some decorative paper back here in the back. So I will be covering this section behind that with this red plaid paper, because that's what I've chosen. And then I also, while I have the red plaid paper out, I'm going to cover a couple of other surfaces. So I'm just going to lay it down here and mark just inside. I'm going to cut off camera. My paper cutter is rather large and a bit cumbersome, so. Okay, so that will be going there. I'll ink around the edges and glue that in. So just so I don't lose track, I'm going to put A and A. So I remember that that's where I want to put that. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over, and I would also like red plaid to go here and down here. So I'll just mark this one and mark this one, and I'll go ahead and cut these, and then I'll glue it all at once. Again, these are the papers from my newest kit. You use whatever papers you want to use. There's no pressure to use the same papers. However, if you are interested in using these papers, in the link below for the Etsy shop, I will also put a discount code down there that will be good until the end of October for 30% off of this kit in my shop. So that will just be good until the end of October this year, 2024, for 30% off. Okay, I'm going to finish cutting this and inking them and attach them, and I'll come right back. Okay, there's the last piece of paper going in. And now we can glue this on. So there's no need really to glue the bottom, because this flap is going to come up and anything that gets put in this pocket won't fall out. So there's really no need to glue the bottom. You can, but what it's going to do is shorten the length of your, shorten the usable length of your pocket. So I left mine open, so that way things could go down all the way to the bottom edge. And I've just glued along the sides. Now, I went with a lighter paper in the background so that you could still write in it if you wanted to, and to make the other, the ephemera pop and the other papers kind of pop. So this is one of the background pages in the kit. It's just a page of vintage garden advertising. So, and I wanted it to kind of look a little bit seamless as it went across. I don't know why. I'm just kind of weird that way. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the height that I'm going to need. So I'm just marking just a little bit narrower. And cut that. Okay. And then let me zoom down a little bit here for you. All right, I've left just a little bit of an edge over here, and I'm going to mark just inside my flap. Okay. And then now let me move that over. Set that. Mark. Move that. And mark. I can do all my marking at one time. So there's my first mark just inside the flap, and then I'll cut it. Okay, so that will go there. I still have to round the corners. Then, see, I'm already ready. I'm already marked for my next one. This one will go here. And the last one. This one will go here. And I still have to round the corners for that. And then if you remember, we put a thumb notch here. So I need to make my thumb notch just a little bit bigger than that one. So I'm going to mark where that one was at. And then I can kind of feel where the other thumb notch is. And if somebody has a better way of doing this, then by all means, do it that way and let me know. I'm just sort of drawing what would be a little bit bigger than what I have existing. And then if I put it in my paper punch, I can kind of line it up a little bit on the lines I pre-drew. And it's pretty close. Pretty close. Okay? Alright, so I need to still round the corners on these and ink the edges. And then these are ready to glue down. Okay, and using the other part of the paper that we cut off, I'll cover this flap down here at the bottom. Okay. The next thing I want to do, I'll do that off camera. The next thing I want to do is make a couple of little bands that are tuck spots to put embellishments in. And so I'm going to use this paper that's in the kit. It's one of the background pages. I'm going to use it sort of like almost like a washi tape strip. So I'm going to just cut a strip of these white pumpkins. Like that. And that will make a little tuck spot, a little band over there. And then I'm going to cut another strip of them for over here. Okay, so that will make another tuck spot on that side. And then down here, I'm going to want a little band. Here, I'll show you. I need another little band down there. So So that's what I'm creating there with those strips from the paper. And then, so I did 2 white pumpkin strips vertical this way. And then for the orange pumpkins, I cut this way instead of vertical so that I could get a strip of orange pumpkins to use down at the bottom. Okay, and that will go down there at the bottom. So I'll ink all this up and trim these down and glue them down. So I'm just going to put glue right at the top and right at the bottom. No glue in the middle. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I totally blew up on you. Okay. Just at the top. Just at the bottom. No glue in the middle. And so that is somewhere we can tuck some things behind. See if we don't put any glue in the middle there. And then we've used light enough paper that we can still write and journal in it. And then we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. Just a little bit of glue on the left and the right. Make a nice little tuck spot. Okay. Okay. Now I have some other surfaces that I want to cover. So I would like to cover, let's see. Yes, it's this flap here. So it would be the outside of the top flap. And these two right here, I would like to use this paper here. So keep in mind that when we cover the flaps, the side flaps, hang on, I can't talk and do something at the same time apparently today. All right, so I'm gonna cut that. And then I'll have one on this side over here. Don't go and measure and glue just like this. Remember that this is your top flap, and then your pumpkins would be upside down. So remember when you're doing this flap, to reverse it and do your pumpkins upside down for this flap, okay? All right, otherwise they won't be oriented the right way when you close it all up. Okay, I'm gonna cut and glue these, and then I'll come right back. Okay, let's put this last piece on here. I made sure that my pumpkins are upside down for this one. So that way, when I close it, my pumpkins will be facing the right direction. Okay, one thing I forgot to do, that I told myself not to forget to do, is that the tie closure, let me bring my completed one back in. My tie closure originates from the back, and I had originally tucked it underneath this piece of paper, and I told myself not to forget to do that, and I did. So that's okay, because we're going to put a pocket back here anyway, and I will show you a workaround. So if you are already past that step because you were crafting along with me, I'm sorry. If not, if you're watching first and then crafting, then you'll be all right. If not, I'll show you a little workaround. Okay, so this is from the page of little advertisements that are in the kit. It's in a big assorted page of different advertisements that are embellished. And so I'm going to use this big one as my pocket here on the back. Okay, I'm going to ink it up real quick. Okay, and then I am using, this is like a, it's like a raffia, like a craft raffia, only it came on a big spool like this, and it's nice and flat. So it works great because raffia looks a lot like fall, or reminds me of fall, and it's a nice flat ribbon that's not going to add a lot of bulk. I just want to see if the piece I cut is large enough. Just going to kind of eyeball. Let's see if I pinch that in there and bring it around, and then I'm going to wrap around the button a couple times. Oh yeah, it's plenty long enough. Okay. I'm going to turn this over, and got some scrap paper. Actually, I guess I should put it on my scrap paper. There. And now my tie will still originate from the right place. I want to make sure I glue the top part of that really well, so that way when I stick things in the pocket, I don't get them caught on that. Okay. Make sure I don't have any wet glue, no wet glue, and that's glued nice and tight, so I shouldn't have anything catching on it when I put things in the pocket. And now I will just glue down each side and across the bottom. Like so. And my tie closure will still come from where I wanted it to, but I do really prefer putting it below the back paper. But like I said, I spaced it. I forgot. Okay, so we just have one more surface that we need to cover, and that is the inside of our flap up here. And I'm going to use some of that leftover pumpkin paper that I was cutting the strips out of. So I'm going to cover my surface with that, and then I will come right back. Ooh. Getting a little wild. Okay, so now we're ready to put our button closure to go with our string. So flap, 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 and here's our string, and so we need the button closure. So for that, I'm going to use a 1-inch circle punch, and then I would like my button to be the plaid, the red plaid, to go here. And so I'm going to punch a piece of the red plaid, and that is going to be the top of my button, or the face of my button. And to make the button part, you could use a piece of thick cardstock to glue that to, or you could sit and fold your paper over multiple times until you get it the thickness that you want, gluing it each time you fold it to get the thickness that you want. But my paper punch, no matter, I've sharpened it, I've greased it, I've done everything. It's getting worn out, and I need a new one. So it doesn't like to punch through very much at a time. So I am going to just do mine a little bit at a time. Okay, so that's 2 widths, or 2 thicknesses. Oh, where did my button go? There it is. Punch through that. Yeah, see, it likes to go through just one. and I've sharpened it. Sharpened it through sandpaper, I've filed it, I've sharpened it through aluminum foil, I've did all the tricks and all that. And it's just, I couldn't tell you how many years old it is. I'm going to do that one more time, and maybe I will have my button as thick as I want. I could also get some thick cardstock out and make my button from cardstock. This is just what I have sitting here handy. And I'd really have to dig out some scraps of cardstock to find scrap cardstock. And I don't really want to punch through a brand new piece of cardstock just to get a circle. Okay. However you want to do it to get it as thick as you need, okay? I think I want to go one more time. Not quite there. Oh, and I didn't think my Band-Aid, I didn't think it would show, and now I've seen it in the camera and just now. So since you've seen it, I'll tell you what I did. I was reprocessing all of that grape jam, or grape jelly Dakota and I made, and it didn't set up and it needed to be reprocessed. So that's what I did the other day. And I had it in a pan on the stove, and I was stirring over here, and I had my big canner, my big boil water, hot water canner on the burner next to it. And while I'm stirring, my canner decided it was going to belt out this huge bunch of steam right on my arm. So I got a very, very nasty steam burn that blistered, and yeah, I don't know, I may have to end up going to the doctor for it. That's going to go there like that. So I want to find the center of my button, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. That looks pretty close to center. And punch my hole, because I'm going to put an eyelet in it. And I'm going to see, where do I want it to be? That looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to mark that so I know where to punch. I don't think my little guy will reach that far. Nope, I need to get my big guy out. Get out my big guy. All right. And there we go. That's going to go there. I think I'm going to go with a cream colored eyelet. Now I have in the past done it to where I've punched smaller circles to kind of raise this up off. It's hard to get your string behind it when it's laying flat against the surface. So if you want to put something underneath there, a smaller circle or whatever to raise it up off the surface, that's fine. But once you use it a few times, it loosens up. Okay. And I'm using such thick cardstock and so many layers of paper that my eyelets are just barely long enough to make it through there anyway. Okay. Just like so. And because I'm using a flat ribbon, once I get it in there and I wrap it on and take it off a few times, it will loosen up a little bit. See how it's raised off the surface now? That's what I was saying. If you put something behind your button, when you're putting the eyelet in, or don't smash it too tight. But my eyelets were barely long enough to go the distance, so just keep working with it till you've got it easy to put the string in and out of. So just keep threading it back there. It will loosen up with time. There we go. I think there we go. That's a little better. Okay. Just like that. See, and I didn't get it completely centered either. That's all right. Okay, and then you cut your string off to the length that you want. All right, so let's see. What do we have left to do? A little bit of embellishing and putting in the little bits of ephemera and embellishments. So I'm not going to sit and cut a whole new set of embellishments, so I'll just show you what I've put in each of the pockets. So for the back pocket, from my tag sheet, I put this little guy in the back pocket. There is a sheet that has words on it, and so I've used one of those back here. There is also an envelope sheet that has these labels, and so I've put one of the labels back here in the back. So that's for the back pocket. On the front, I used this little guy here, the Remember label. That is placed right down here in the corner if you want to make yours just like mine. That was on the corner pocket sheet. It's the Remember label right down here in the corner. And then inside, I've placed one of the little advertisements, another one of the words, and another one of the large labels. Okay, on this side, I put another one of the advertisements. This one I clipped a little ribbon to. There are some little embellishments on the same page as the words. So I've used one of those in here and another one of the words. Down at the bottom, I used another one of the little labels to tuck in, one of the little advertisements, and another one of the little embellishments. Okay, and then on the inside pocket, right up here, I cut one of the smaller tags out. So that would be this tag here. But I did have to cut it down just a little bit. It was a little bit too big to go in that pocket. That's what I've selected for that pocket. Okay. And see, that's why I didn't glue the bottom, so that I could bring my tag all the way to the bottom. If I had glued it, I would have lost like a ½ an inch or so out of the depth of my pocket. Okay, one last thing that I want to do is add a little bit of space, sort of make this almost like a little mini journal, and add a little bit of space for writing. So to do that, I'm using one sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 paper, and this one is coffee dyed. And so I am going to cut this one. Let me think about it. Think about how I did that. Oh, I know. So I'm going to fold it. So I've got the 11 up and down vertically. I'm going to fold it vertically. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this into thirds. So that ends up being about 3.5 inches. See the height of my little mini journal here. 3.5. Three and a half. And 3.5. And that just leaves me with a little sliver left. Okay. Put those together. Those would be the pages of my little signature. Okay. Bring this back over, and I'm going to sew these in like I would the signature in a journal. Before I do that though, I want to trim just a little bit down off of the edge so that it doesn't bind up over here. It doesn't need a lot trimmed off, just a smidge. And so that way I've used an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to make how many pages here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 sides out of one sheet of paper, and this is the only waste we had, was just a little bit of little bit of slivers there. Okay, let me find my sewing needle here. And I've placed just some sewing thread. This is some heavy duty upholstery thread. Take my pages here, and we're just going to sew these in like we would the signature in a regular journal. I'm going to poke right through the center. Okay, I'm just going to poke through. Okay, so I've made a hole. All right. Come down here. Thread is almost not long enough. It's all right. It was what was left over from doing the other one. I thought it would make it, but we'll see. You could also staple these in, or you don't have to add this part at all. I just thought it was a fun little extra. Almost not long enough, but I think we'll get her done. Maybe. There we go. Just like so. Get those threads. And then we have a little journaling spot, and then just to make things cute, because we like things to be cute, I've got a little leaf stamp here. And I just sat and put a little leaf on the corner of the pages, just for fun. Because why not? I would have done a pumpkin, but I don't have a pumpkin stamp. I don't know why I don't have a pumpkin stamp, but I don't. There we go. Just like that. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. So I intentionally left these blank because I thought this would be a fun little memory keeper that you could put pictures right here and here, journal about something fun you did this fall, and then maybe instead of putting little bits of embellishments in here, you could put some ephemera from something that you did, you know, either receipts or ticket stubs from maybe you went to a pumpkin patch or whatever, and then journal about it here, and then you could put pictures on the other surfaces. So just a fun little idea, something you could do. But anyway, so that's it for now. Have fun with this. Make it your own, and let me know if you made one. I'd love to see it. So, all right, take care, guys. Happy crafting. Bye.